Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about what I love about Aquarius, and yes, it does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Now, first thing I love about Aquarius, I think the obvious thing is the fact that they could be very original, ingenious, and innovative. Thomas Edison has the Sun in Aquarius, and if anybody was an innovator, it sure was him. Aquarius, what I love about this zodiac sign is that they're often willing to do things that others won't do. They could be very original and unorthodox. And the thing is, for example, you take Nick Wallenda, and many of you may have remembered he had walked across the Grand Canyon on a tightrope without a safety net. And Aquarians can be very daring, and a lot of times their daring is coupled with something unusual. Aries is a sign that could be daring and really fearless in what they do, but with Aquarius, there's usually a little bit more of an unusual quality or something that's just very different and unique connected with their audacity or being audacious. Now, another thing what I love about the zodiac sign Aquarius is that they can be very non-conforming, and sometimes I understand this might be negative, but in other times it could be positive. Aquarius is the sign where, okay, they may do what they want to do regardless of what the majority does. Aquarius could be that person that likes to use a gravity light as opposed to using a lamp or flashlight. I think there's just a connection with them and the unconventional and unorthodox, and that definitely plays a huge role in it. There's a little bit of the rebel in Aquarius as well. And the thing is, another thing what I love about the zodiac sign is that they're often very considerate and they are respectful often of other people. Now, granted, Aquarius is a fixed sign. They're not always supremely easygoing by any stretch, but they do understand about the consideration of others, and I think they often make an effort to not be offensive to others. They will speak their mind. Aries often falls on the third house cusp in a solar or natal chart, and being a fixed sign, of course, they could be very intractable and very set in what they believe, but at the same time, they could often be respectful of others and others' opinions as well. Now, another thing that I love about Aquarius is that they could often be very proficient with computers and electronics. Aquarius is ruled not just by Saturn but by Uranus, of course, and which is associated with computers and electronics. And if you have like something going on with your computer, there's some virus going on or malware, or there's some other technical issue, if there's some kind of component inside the machine that needs fixing or replacing, Aquarius can often be that person that will come over and be able to help you out with this. And Aquarius, another thing I love about the sign is that they can be very selfless. Aquarius is the sign of the humanitarian, and they're often connected with helping and giving to others. Now, many of you may remember that the late Steve McNair, he was a former NFL quarterback, and what happened with him was, okay, when they had Hurricane Katrina, he was connected with humanitarian efforts, connecting with that, I believe, doing things to help the victims of that. And the thing about Aquarius, they are often strongly about giving. Now, Leo is similar in that sense. Leo is just generally magnanimous. They could be generous and extravagant with their funds. But Aquarius, it's not just necessarily about things of a monetary nature. It's about helping just in general through their just general actions. And often it could lead to sacrificing their time for others and not worried about compensation for their efforts. Now, another thing too is what I love about Aquarius is that the fact that they could be, it goes kind of back to the innovative thing I was talking about before, but their thinking is usually just very strong. Aquarius could be very cerebral. Keep in mind that Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, and you're, of course, Aquarius not just ruled by Saturn, but Uranus as well. And I do believe overall, collectively, as I've stated, at least in one other video, I do believe Aquarius is on average the smartest of the zodiac signs. And what's interesting is that you have this one example. Now, many of you may have remembered the original MacGyver series when it starred Richard Dean Anderson. And of course, you know that whoever saw this series, it was about a guy that used improvised scientific methods to extricate himself from certain dilemmas and certain problems, and just using things that were handy to do to really show really to get out of whatever situation they were in. And there was one thing I had researched on this, that in one episode, MacGyver is a sun in Aquarius in real life, Richard Dean Anderson, which I think is very ironic. That's why I'm talking about this. Actors, I believe, as I've stated in previous videos, I do believe a lot of them are subconsciously drawn to roles that can fit their real life astrological personalities. Now, what he did was, in one episode, it stated that he had taken a flare gun and a rock to create a rocket thruster. And I mean, really, the things, it's just uncanny how some people, their astrological signs often are connected with the characters that they do portray on TV. And Henry Winkler, who I believe was a producer of the show, has Aquarius rising. So I thought that was very interesting. Aquarius, of course, is so synonymous with ingenuity, originality. I mean, it's not even funny. Now, also keep in mind that Aquarius, what I love about them is they could be very revolutionary, and they really just kind of go their own way. You look at some athletes, for example, some legendary sports athletes. I'll give you one, of course, Michael Jordan, sun in Aquarius, NBA Hall of Famer. And of course, many think he may have revolutionized the game of basketball more so than any other player. And you take another iconic sports athlete, a guy by the name of Babe Ruth, sun in Aquarius, where, if I'm not mistaken, he was actually out homering baseball teams at points during his career. And when he retired, I think he had more than double the amount of career home runs that the guy in second place did on the all-time career home run list. So these people, and then you have another person in contemporary time now, Steph Curry, an NBA player, who has his moon in Aquarius, who basically he's kind of revolutionizing the game in his own way by showing that you could win using a barrage of three-pointers and not everything. It doesn't have to always be all this variety of short shots and a few long shots here and there. I mean, with the Golden State Warriors, many of you follow the NBA know that they are notorious for shooting a lot of three-pointers, and Stephen Curry is right along with them, one of the leaders in that department. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for what I love about Aquarius, and stay tuned next time where I'll be talking about what I love about Pisces. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel, but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.